I just had a brief exchange online with someone where the concern was that I was, and I have been, exploiting Asher. And that as someone with a brand and who leverages their online presence, that utilizing a child to get views or attention is not considering Asher first. And that thinking about like the Kardashians or someone like that, like there is real damage that can be done to individuals when they perceive that they are a product. And that, what will happen when Asher grows up and starts to believe that, was he really loved, or was he just some tool in a marketing plan for me? Like maybe, this person brought up like, I could see you writing a book on how to bio dad, and you're gonna make it's gonna be empty and damaging, but potentially, very popular even. And clearly, I am. I do not have any desire to hurt Asher. And I think that there is a legit concern. I don't tell people's story if it's not mine to tell. So what right do I have to tell the story of a child who cannot consent to their story being told? It's not my first time doing this. I have recorded and shared videos of my nephews, of some friends' kids. And my experience with those is that the parents gave me consent. And the children, when they got older, enjoyed seeing their videos that were recorded of them. Now, are they old enough? Yeah, actually, they're old enough now to have bitterness for me putting them online without their consent. And there's a lot that goes through my mind. On one hand, maybe it's black and white to you. You're like, dude, you don't have consent from the kid. You can't, how dare you put them online? But there's a lot that goes through my head, and I'm talking this through. And if you've got thoughts or I want to be open to it. One of the things that this person said in their message is like, hey, I don't think anyone's going to speak to you in the way that you need to be heard, because people just are going to agree with you. But you need to hear this. And I found myself being a little kind of defensive so I want to try to avoid the tendency to be defensive. But I feel like, one, if Asher goes back and sees videos of himself being interviewed by me, I think he will witness something adorable, and I think he will witness my love for him. Is it possible that he will see this and go, this guy never loved me? He was just using me. That's possible. He could dig deeper and watch hours and hours of me talking about my life, my struggles, my love for him, my history with him as a part of my life, my decisions to not parent, but be in his life. And if he is old enough and can digest that stuff, I think he would be able to conclude that I was making a choice that I thought was in integrity with who I am and with what I feel called to be in this world. And as I think there could be situations, or there's certain things that like I would not share. Like I wouldn't share footage of him having a tantrum or something that I thought might be embarrassing. I might share things that are adorable or inspiring, as I would with most people. Again, he can't consent to that, so I don't know if that is inherently wrong. But I also feel like if I look at the world today, there is the person that contacted me. They're like, look, they're being critical of the damage that I was going to do to him, and I was like this child is going up in a world that is so fucked up. There's massive corruption that is getting worse and worse. There is massive environmental struggles and challenges and damage getting worse and worse. The oppression, the income inequality, the suffering, there's just so much that's fucked up in this world. We're coming upon this AI shift where the future of humanity is unknown. Now, granted, when I was growing up, we had the threat of the nuclear holocaust, so maybe it's same as it ever was. But I think that in the context of all of these things that are damaging to children, my sharing publicly my relationship with this child, I don't think that is going to be in a negligible negative in terms of the things that he's going to have to struggle with. Now, that being said, anything, the tiniest of things, I could have said a phrase that during my visit last week that lodged in his brain, and now it's going to be something that is a trauma for him for the rest of his life. And maybe the fact of being filmed at all will be a trauma that he has to then dig into and work on. But I feel like from where I'm standing, like, do I feel like I am exploiting him? No. Do I feel like I am in integrity in sharing as much love as I can in the world, including my relationship with my bio son? Yes. And do I feel like the potential consequences to Asher are worth including him in my life mission to share as much love as possible? In this moment, yes. I mean, we live in a world where, like, the idea, if I was doing this with a kid 15, 20 years ago, it might be, I think, a bigger conversation. But being a human is, right now in Western culture, is one of having your privacy invaded. So to have his privacy invaded by nature of his birthright, being born of my seed, I mean, it's almost like, look, he was born, if you have short parents, you're going to be short and you're going to have to deal with being short. If you have a parent who shares his entire life online, you're going to have the consequences of that as a kid. Obviously, I have a choice in sharing his life where I do not have a choice of passing on my physical genetics. But I don't think that being short necessarily is going to cause trauma, and I don't think having a more public life is going to be a cause of trauma, especially in the modern world. Time will tell. And this person's response was like, your attitude of like, well, wait and see what he thinks, is a very narcissistic perspective, to, rather than protect the child at all costs, to say, well, we'll wait and see. And I got a little defensive. I said, they were saying that, a parent should protect children at all costs, and a child should come first no matter what. And I was like, if you and I both truly believed that a child comes first, we would get off the computer right now and go work to dismantle this system. There is so much happening right now at our hands, by our governments, through our actions of our consuming, that is fucking up the world that these children are going to inherit. So could each of us be more dedicated to our children? Of course. Do we have to find the sweet spot in our integrity of balancing our human experience, their human experience, their futures? Yes, that is what we have to find. And in this moment, I am in a balanced sweet spot place where I am comfortable with whatever consequences there may be. As I said, knowing that I've made that choice for him. In the same way that a parent, let me take a step back. I also, in all of this conversation, I do not identify as parent. Amy is the parent, so I will share this with her, and if she has consented to this, if she rethinks this and says, you know what, you're right, like this is unfair to Asher, she is making all the decisions as far as what this child is exposed to, when he goes to bed, what he gets to eat, what the consequences are if he doesn't brush his teeth. This is what a parent does. What she needs to protect him from, what things he can't watch, what people she needs to protect him from. And so if being on Facebook as I interview him feels exploitive to her, or feels like something, you know what, you're right, maybe this is something I should protect Asher from, then I will absolutely honor that. I would still like to be able to share pictures, because I don't think that is quite the same thing. But if there is if that is, I think the parent's decision to make, and I am not invested enough to be able to make a parent decision for Asher. It is not my right. I am not co-parenting. I am a biodad. I am a sperm donor who is a known donor in Asher's life. Amy has said, the more love, the better. So he and I do have a connection. There is a biological connection. So if I am available and willing to participate in his life as a loving outside person, awesome. Part of me living my life is sharing it publicly, so I include that. Also because I feel it is a beautiful thing to share. I try to live my life as best I can publicly, and use that as use my healing and my journey as one that other people often can find things to reflect their own in. And so this aspect of love and expansion that Asher is non-consensually playing a part of is part of this curriculum that I am engaged in, and by engaging in it, instructing. So I am being open to the possibility that I am acting without his interest. I am also appreciative of his non-consensual participation in what I think is something that's beautiful for my healing and the world. And I have faith that whatever damage he incurs by nature of his biodad acting as best he could, that he will then go through the lessons, the healing, the journey that he needs to go through to heal himself from whatever damage I unintentionally do to him, as all children do with their parents. And I hope that, after Asher works through whatever resentment he has for not having a father figure in his life, and when he's old enough to go through whatever we have for Internet Archives in the future, or has his AI brain implant scan for anything recorded that his Bada said about him or about his relationship, or even maybe he goes deeper and learns about who I was. I believe, I have faith that he will respect me. And I think that at some time, eventually, he will get to a place where he's proud to be my bio son. And I want to live in a way to make that certain. So I appreciate the message of criticism. I am taking it to heart, and then I am leading with my heart.